Welcome to Galactic Grandmother Heart to Heart. My name is April, and my special guest today is Jemaa Sonciré. That's such a beautiful name, Sonciré. She is a psychic. She is an Akashic Records librarian. She does energy alignment. She's a timeline activator, and she's an intuitive mentor. I met Jemaa when I recently got a reading with her and Laura Eisenhower, and they are the dynamic duo for readings. I have to recommend them. Jemaa does the psychic part of tuning into you. And of course, Laura is the wonderful galactic astrologer. So welcome so much, Jemaa. I appreciate you being with me.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. This is so fun, and I'm excited to dive into what we're going to get into.
Right, right. For my viewers that may not be familiar with you, could you just give us like a little brief personal history about your spiritual journey, bringing you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think like most intuitives and light workers did realize when they were kids that there was something different about this reality, that they were different from the other kids that they went to school with. And that was me. I luckily had an amazing childhood. I grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I
Ooh.
had a horse. Yeah. And I just spent a lot of alone time, but I realized it wasn't alone time because I had a galactic team with me. I had the fairies, guides, and the forest and Mother Earth. And so I always go into that timeline and draw from that, because that's, I feel, was my connection to the original timeline that we're all from. And we came in to make some shifts here and bring it back into balance from a more negative into the more positive timeline. But I diverted where my path went. So then I had a regular teenage years, regular 20s. I was in the like psychic closet. I didn't want anybody to
Oh,
know
yeah.
that I knew everything about them. Probably knew more about them than they knew about themselves back when I was in my late teens, 20s. So I just tried to be normal and not in that. So it was when I moved to Kauai that I started really diving into like energy healing and tuning in with the other realms. I was always drawn to those shamans or psychics.
Mhm.
And one day I was giving advice to my friend. She's like, you could be on like one of those psychic hotlines. And I was like, I could. And so I did. Worked for one of the biggest psychic hotlines, but it was like fast food psychic.
Yeah.
So I decided I didn't like that. But I just continued my spiritual journey, taking energy courses, theta healing, Reiki, shaman classes. And then I'm a big herbalist, so a lot of herbal studies. Yeah. And then I'm a mom. So that always came first. So single mom for the last 17, 18 years. So that's been just a beautiful journey with those souls that wanted to come in.
Nice.
I was on Kauai for 20 years. And then I just recently moved back to Santa Cruz. It's amazing. And then
And
continuing my work here. Like you said, you got a reading from me and Laura. So
right.
building our duo. She does the astrology, I do the psychic, and it's just amazing working with her, and was able to meet you. Definitely in some powerful, amazing times. And I have a lot of supernatural experiences with my guides, with my kids that came in, lots of those kind of stories, meeting a baby Bigfoot when I was 16. So it's like all of these experiences kind of I viewed as school, preparing me for what we're literally going through right now, because we ain't Kansas anymore. Right. I don't, we're in
Good.
a totally different energy field than we were, like the Mandela effect. So I know that we've been moving really fast through energies, and we're all a part of that. If you're watching your audience, I'm sure they're awake and on their journey and know that there's something beyond what we've been living in.
And you brought up one of my questions. I was going to ask you to talk about the timelines that are going on right now. And
Mm-hmm.
you must see trends with your clients. You must be able to read overall energies about what's going on right now with the state of humanity's consciousness. You did say we're in a different energy now. How would you
Mm-hmm.
characterize that?
So I see, so everything is frequency and timelines to me. So everything is a vibration through our thoughts, through, and it is happening at a really fast speed. So that's why more than ever, it's really important. And that's what I like to focus on with clients, is really just the self.
Mm-hmm.
How are we, working on ourselves? How are we healed? How, we have to be these clear, beautiful, infinite being channels that we are. That's who we really are, and clear out all of the false narratives of self-doubt, just all of the negative thoughts about self, the programming. And it feels real. It does, because you actually physically in this body went through it. But we want to get to a point where we're like, wait a minute, that just was showing me that something's out of balance, because that's not who we truly are. And then we want to align to the timeline energy frequency of God, source, joy, fun, like love, like right in our heart space. That's who we really are. And that's what I really believe Mother Earth was. And then it got overtaken by dark forces, and they understood energy and timelines. I feel we're a little naive, us humans are, and so easily kind of manipulated. And we've all been since birth manipulated into thinking a certain way, being a certain way. And it was all to create their false timeline. So we're all like going, wait a minute, something's not right here. But if you understand it's energy and it's through your thoughts that you can actually shift it. That's why it's so important to not identify with wounds and traumas, and to truly understand that going through those just makes you understand that is not real. And we ultimately, I feel, did choose to come in here and bring back the balance. And a lot knew they were going to go through some really hard experiences. I see so many move through it in the readings that I do, and the clients that I work with understand that and go, oh yeah. And it's just shifting their frequency through the healing on into the, I guess, the higher frequency. I guess that's how we can explain it. Lower frequencies is what we've been kind of trapped in. And now we're breaking free from that and reprogramming to our original who we really are. And so that's how I see, that was a long explanation, but that's how I see these different timelines be pulled into through what we're told in the media, if we're not careful or super aligned with ourselves, our energy field can get weakened by the false narratives and then start resonating at that frequency. So that's why I do it daily. I have to say positive affirmations. I have to talk to my guides, my higher self. I have to keep my energy field solid, so nothing is allowed in it to align me to something I don't want to be aligned to.
Right.
It's not easy, because we weren't taught
we're living in a matrix that's fear-based, that's polarized, and wants to keep humanity divided. Because if we all got together instead of fighting amongst ourselves, then we could get together and we could make overall corrections that needed to be made.
Absolutely. Because then there's a collective. And so in my meditations, I have a few times gotten into that space of, wow, we really are all one. And if we all are in that heart space, in the love space, and in collectively making those shifts, we can do it. So it's just, there's these collective, the program collective, where it's just like it's running the false narrative, and some people don't know how to get out of it. And so that's why it's so important. Yeah.
Or they don't even realize
that's right.
I have this orchid, and this just fell down when you were talking.
No way. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Confirmation. Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, our guides are like, woohoo.
It sometimes seems overwhelming when you look at the collective and what's going on. So that's what we have to do, is just bring it back to ourselves, stay grounded in our true spiritual self, and just do the best we can do.
That's right, for sure. And it is tough. It is, because we're going through the hardest thing that in the history of planet Earth. This is what my guides told me. Gosh, I was living on Kauai for like 20 years. So I did a lot of meditation, a lot of connecting to my guides. And so that's what they said. This has never happened in the history of planet Earth. The conscious shift that you guys are all going through is huge. So I was like, woohoo, in my rainbows and fairy. But yeah, they didn't actually tell me that it was going to get really ugly. They left that part out. They
Right.
left 2020 scene out. I was like, okay, thanks, guys. No. So I'm like, I get it. I get it. Why this is all happening. The shift is amazing through the exposure. And the exposure isn't pretty with
No.
exposing the deep state and the dark ones.
So,
And yeah.
did your guides give you a vision of our eventual outcome after we get through the speed bump?
Absolutely. And it's truly up to us. It literally back to the timeline and consciousness. Where are we going to play? Because it's already actually there. We just got pulled out of our original timeline. We got pulled out of holding that frequency and manipulated into this dark loop
Mhm.
because I've also been, it's like those deja vus, or I've been having them crazily. Like, I'm like, this isn't even a deja vu. It literally is like, I've done this already. We're consciously, we've probably been looped and looped into a life. And then now we're going, oh, it's like that Groundhog Day, putting the consciousness into where we're really from, where our joy, God's source, higher self, where things are always working out, where we're getting along and supporting each other. That to me is the original. And so we have to align ourselves with that to have that created, because it's already there for us. And the other souls aren't ready to align with that, then it might still be continue the false matrix until, and I do see rehabilitation. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I do get visions of it finally collapsing where there is just no dark and it gets rehabilitated and goes back to God's source. So that's why it's up to us to hold that frequency.
Mhm. Yeah.
And truly it's all within.
Do you see that collapsing as something physical on the earth happening in this lower frequency?
No, we are creating the frequency, because I think planet Earth is the higher frequency.
Mhm.
So it's just these timelines that run through her. So in the work that I do, there's all these false timelines, these false loops that are happening. That's why it's so important to do the inner work and clear the traumas from childhood, from other past lives. Because if we don't go in and clear that on our own personal, with that experience, with that belief or memory, if we don't clear that and understand that we are pure love, God's source, nothing else exists in that, we got to go in and collapse those timelines to just get dissolved. That's at least my part. And with what my guides tell me is that's what I'm here to help people go in and clear those. Because if there's trauma still going on with something that's happening right now, reliving that timeline, because there is no time ultimately. It's all still happening.
Right.
So we have to go in and bring light and love and clear that timeline. So then that timeline gets dissolved from the dark looping. That's why it's so important what we're doing right now with our inner work.
Now I'm understanding probably why I'm guided into this particular work as well.
I just got goosebumps all over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I have to tell you, your background that I keep seeing lots of faces behind you in the clouds and the stars behind
Oh, I
you.
love it. They're like, hi,
Your team's
hello,
with
say
you.
hello. My
Um,
guides, my higher self. I love it.
I didn't really know why I mean, I have always known it's a natural part of me, the past like Akashic Record stuff. And you never
Right.
know sometimes till later on in life how those natural abilities are going to play out and you'll be able
Right.
to be of service. But you just
Totally.
caused an aha light bulb moment in me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah, because it's kind of hard to explain that, because I just know what I'm doing when I'm in a session, because it is energy. Good, I'm glad you got that.
I'm just wondering, I was talking to a person I was interviewing yesterday about our different kinds of, we were talking about third eye.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see dead people around me and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't really see the fourth dimensional stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
if I'm tuning into someone, I'll see maybe a past life that
Mm-hmm.
affects them now. Do you do that as well?
Yeah. And if someone asks the question, like, yeah, so I'll see past lives if someone wants to know. So I'll be able to tap into that and usually see what past lives they have, because it's everything's connected. And then loved ones will come in. I don't necessarily think I'm a medium, but loved ones come in with messages, and
Mhm.
I'll get personalities of that loved ones. But the way that I see it is it's all energy to me. And I do see things in my third eye. I'll see what people look like. It's not 100%,
Right, right.
but I know that I'll receive messages. But sometimes they don't show me what they look like, or I'll just channel through what comes in. Yeah.
I've just been realizing, and please elaborate on this, that there's different Akashic libraries available to us, correct? There's personal Akashic record libraries.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more galactic, different kinds of information out there, which might be termed Akashic libraries. Can you explain that?
I just see it all as energy, and everything, all that is in the other space that we just can't see.
Right.
So I feel like our human brain has placed labels on
Uh-huh.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So like Akashic records, my guides have just told me, they're called Akashic records, they're called, or the quantum space of all that is. It's where all the information is stored that we have access to, that we can just consciously go, okay, I'm going to go into my galactic. So we can connect with that, or I can connect with someone else's personal energy field and receive information from there. There are guides that are in there that I can connect with to assist me, but my main spirit, I guess, or being that I connect with is me, my higher self.
Right.
That's who I trust. But I do have a team that assists my higher self. And I know when I'm talking to my higher self or another part of my team. And then we also have animals. So yeah, the Akashic Records, there's definitely a team in there and can assist in all that. So I feel like I just have access to the quantum space that has it all in there.
Oh, that makes
So
hundred
yeah.
percent sense to me because I
Okay.
work in the quantum and I know it's all intentional.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it's just for my guides, but it is the intention. It's just the pure heart. You have good intentions to bring forth really positive, good information to figure this realm out.
Yes. And I'm also 100% on board with how you describe your main guide because my main guide is my higher self. And of course, along my soul stream, there's many higher selves of me. And then working with my higher self, my main guide, I have the team.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I love that. Totally. I spot them immediately. That's just one of my gifts. And darker energies are not allowed in my space. That was probably just my agreement coming in, because I feel the protection from my galactic, from my higher self, from the guides, I have animal, I have dragons, but I daily make sure they're there, put in place. Because if I get too overwhelmed or I feel stress coming in, then then I have to balance that back out, because then that's invitation for the darker forces to come in. That's why it is so important, again, to do that inner work.
mm-hmm.
If we're not clear of our stresses, traumas, it creates negative looping. It creates negative belief systems, which affect our own personal energy field, which then affects the body or affects negative things to happen in our lives. It's really important to be that warrior and really truly know who you are and what your purpose is here,
Right.
no matter what challenges. Yeah.
And our body, our literal physical cells hold the energies. That's what we really need to get into, how we need to clear the cells of our bodies of these energies, mental, physical, spiritual, past life traumas, whatever it may be. And that's when your higher consciousness can literally come in and embody yourself.
That's right. And that is the place that we're in right now for this ascension, is our higher self coming in to embody in our bodies. Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, you're totally right on.
And the payoff of doing the inner work, it might be bad and painful and traumatic to bring up old things that have been packed away, but the payoff is when you get through it and you can embody some of your own higher consciousness, is just joy, happiness, better health.
Yeah, totally. Well, it is. That's key to having health, is clearing out all of that, all the negative, all the old belief systems, even lineage. So it's cutting cords of lineage, and that could just be having boundaries with your controlling parent. When I do reading, so I'll see this, something that's a negative energy that runs with a family. They say, oh, that runs in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, liver disease runs in the family. Oh, my mom got it, my dad. That's just energy. And that's that family lineage is carrying that energy. So that's why things run in the family. And absolutely, the cells, like you were talking about, need to be clear. And that's why the reprogramming is important, because I remember Deepak Chopra. So he asked the question, 40 years ago when he was a doctor. He's like, why does this patient still have, I think it was actually liver, because the liver regenerates. Why does this patient have liver disease for 20 years? The new cells, it's supposed to be regenerating. What's going on? So he went into that space of the old cells were giving the new cells the same message. So it's like, oh, that's why it's so important to reprogram, to talk to your body, talk to your cells, to create that health in the body, to regenerate cells that are going to be in the homeostate, your functioning, beautiful, healthy body.
And the family lineage is just those, say, liver disease energies attached to the DNA that is passed through the family, which can be neutralized and cleared.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because those, it's all, so that's everything to me is energy, thoughts, and traumas. And so when we clear those out of our space and out of our personal lives and understand, oh, that's actually my mom's, and I'm not going to take that on anymore. And that was her mom's and her. And so I'm going to say, no, thank you. Love you. But this is my energy. We come in and have these lessons with parents, children. It is for spiritual growth too, being here. We have many missions going on. Take out the evil. It's number one. And then our personal spiritual growth, just being here. And so we have soul family, but ultimately, like, our mom really isn't our mom. She's there to remind you, or say your husband, if they're affecting you and triggering you, then that's like, oh, more inner work to clear. So really, they're your biggest teacher to show you what's within, to go, oh, I still need to clear that out. Okay. And usually when you do that, then it shifts the other person. But if it doesn't, then we got to learn boundaries and maybe cut that relationship off if it continues to be toxic after you've gone into alignment with yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. It really is.
We are multitasker, multidimensionals.
Totally. Absolutely. We really are. And that's a really good thing for everyone. That's what, like, really understand your energy field and energies around you, and start working with your own energy field. I'm actually creating a little mini course on how to connect with your higher self energy field and how to navigate. It's like a 101. What is our energy field? Because I think that's like really important. If you're stressed at work, it's not yours. A lot of times you got to ask, is this mine? Or if you're out and about, the road rage that's always going on, that's because there's so many energies going by so fast. And so they can just move through us. And so we have to really understand to keep the energy, our own personal energy field, solid. So
And
nothing else can get in and knock it off balance.
when I was given a vision of our future,
Oh, yeah.
a big part of it was the children's education. And I wish
Yeah.
these little elementary school kids out on the playground, and they were being instructed on how to use the energies, the solar energies, with their own energies and Mother Earth's energies to work with it to keep themselves maintain their health. And it was just amazing that that part of it was everyone recognized that children bring in the higher consciousness. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were given every opportunity to develop into a universal citizen with a
Oh, I
connection to
love
their own
that.
personal source.
Yeah, no, it's really important. And I know there's a lot of schools like that coming about. So a lot of there's spiritual schools, there's mystery schools, but it is starting with the kids to really to tune in with themselves, working with the sun and knowing how to work with the energies around you and Mother Earth. Yeah, I know we're moving in that direction. I just know.
Right.
But truly getting to know yourself and taking the time as a teenager is really important. I totally see that vision you're seeing. The point is like, don't put me in a box. Don't tell me I have to do that. So that's where I see things. So everything is neutral and we can align with anything we want to align with. Allow it the freedom to be in this matrix realm and to create what we want to create. That's that question you asked me. Well, how are we going to clear the dark out? Well, it's aligning with complete goodness and light and what we truly want and the freedom to participate in a better way, in a more beautiful way, and align with that. And that so my guides told me that too. They're just stop listening to the negatives. Don't turn on the news. Like I'm not participating in that timeline. I'm just not. I'm focusing here. But then we do have the warriors that are on the front lines,
Right.
like Laura, and that is having to participate. So I just know what my mission is to focus on the timeline that we are creating, and I'm grounding in that energy. And then we have the frontliners that are exposing such darkness. And I'm like, thank you. Because, well, I didn't come in to do that. I came in for being people focus on their own mission, their own purpose. I need to stay neutral so I don't get off balance and then keep focusing on my personal space and keep my frequency high.
Is there something that you believe is important for people to know or to think about at this time?
Well, what we've talked about, just really understanding how to clear and do the inner work and really get in touch with your own heart space and understand everything really is love, like that old saying. So when we really drop into our heart space and know that we are love, like that's where we're from is God's source creator. And just to keep working on that, because that's how we all do this together, is really remembering that frequency that we carry within us and to totally stay in that frequency of love. That's really important to do. And yeah, follow your joy, follow your guidance, free from that false matrix that tells you need to do that and do this. And it's just important to do that. Anyways, okay.
So I will talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.